Listen up. We're about to get started. A lot of mercenaries from around the world have made their way into the country, as I'm sure you've seen. However, Sicario is currently one of the only groups that can throw around enough fighters to aid in the air war. Cascadia's National Guard was quickly scattered and taken out by Federation military forces when we originally tried to force them out of Cascadia. They came without mercy, eliminating more than 30% of our active forces. These last few weeks have been disastrous, and we're on the verge of capitulating into a full-blown guerrilla war. We'd like to avoid this, and because of that, Sicario will be deployed immediately to several of our units currently in need of support.
Hitman Team, you will be deployed to an agricultural area to the south. One of the Independence Force's surviving battalions has been driven there by a Federation offensive. Presently, a collection of Allied officers preside over a rather notable amount of manpower. The Federation is currently engaged using air and ground units, so a multifaceted loadout is suggested. You might catch the Federation off guard, however, anticipate retaliation in short order. Launch and lift the siege. If that battalion falls, our forces won't have enough manpower or command to organize again.
Hello there, Flyboys. So this time around, our mission is a lot more about protecting people than it is just kind of being a deterrent or actively taking out some base defenses. As always, I have a lot of choices to go through, but I'm going to try and keep it in order. So we're going to be flying the Not Viggen today. Unfortunately, the problem with the Viggen is that it has cool ASMs or anti-ship missiles, but unfortunately you don't really see ships. Like, you see them, but not as frequently, and when they do show up, sometimes you'd rather pick something other than the Viggen. So it's in like a weird status on how you want to play with it. I'll probably show them off at some point, maybe. As I mentioned before, this will probably be one of the few times that I'll show the takeoffs. Other times will most likely just be for campaign/story purposes only. You also can't shoot in this section of the game, so it doesn't really matter what you do. It's just to hit accelerate and then lift off and don't die. So now that everybody's got their monologues out of the way, There's a few things to point out. Much like Ace Combat, tanks require 2 missiles to destroy, so they're on the tougher end of the enemies that we'll see. Missions like these, paired with the Viggen, especially for having its multi lock-on anti-ground and anti-air missiles, make it kind of a breeze, especially on the easier difficulties, because you can essentially just kind of like spam shots as long as you're flying in a decent enough circle and don't get, murked by some missiles too early. There's also a few things to note with regards to the people who have actually been talking. Specifically, Wild Boar Actual, well, as long as they don't all die, we may see them in the future. Another positive in the Viggen's side is that it has a pretty awesome paint job, but sadly, you really have to have like good lighting for it to ever really show up. I should also mention that with regards to the difficulty, the mercenary difficulty has essentially some extra aircraft in the form of like the big battleship / cruisers, and as well as some ground stuff, but we're not actually going to see them for a while, so I'm not going to talk about them, and hopefully the thread also doesn't. Yeah, it's a pretty cool paint job. So the essentially what makes it a lot harder is that not only are there a lot more units, but you really have to make sure that you act in fast capacity. Otherwise, you may actually come about losing all of your allies. With stuff like the multi-lock-on anti-air missiles being so strong, honestly, you really want to make sure you never use them on weak targets, like the helicopters that are sometimes floating about. Despite the earlier conversation with Diplomat, and I believe Comic as well, there's no like kill board or anything that would let you compare your performance versus your AI partners in real time. It's obviously not something I really expect them to implement, but I think it would have been funny. I was going to say that I'm pretty sure that speedruns of this game would include aircraft like the Viggen because of the way that they can just their loadout possibilities and being able to just like spam weapons out at a significant pace. But honestly, when I did some cursory checks, it turns out that there's a mission skip bug that you could play like 4 missions in this game and then just win. It's kind of silly. Sometimes I get used to faster planes, so, you know, if you ever see me prematurely launch a missile, it's usually why. Suffice to say that once you start unlocking some of the better planes, well, they can be a little bit abusive. The speedruns that don't use the mission skip bug, or MSB, I think all concentrate on that. They'll just take like the best plane and just roll with it. Which, when we get there, I think the thread will agree that there's a reason why that plane is, you know, chosen.
Enemy down, good job.
Even though that was a helicopter, I'm kind of desperate to just finish this at this point.
Fox 3. Enemy down.
While it's okay to, you know, generally spend missiles and, you know, miss every so often, especially on high angle shots like the ones I was doing there, you do have to worry about length of missions. Not in this case, because obviously we're almost done, but there will be times where you really want to be able to manage just what you're launching and how many of. At least you've always got the guns as a backup.
Sicario AWACS Galaxy to all Independence Force elements. Advised to cease engagement. Federation is disengaging or no factor. Good God, we're alive! Think those mercs accept tips? Yeah, it'll take more than that to convince me. Did any of our forces get a positive ident on that aircraft that broke our line? Affirmative. A crowd. Mercenaries. Hard copy. Issuing theater-wide alert. Mercenary forces are now in play by the rebels. Hitman Team, RTB. We're reporting similar successes up and down Cascadia. If Monarch keeps racking up kills like that, we're gonna need a bigger offshore count. Us versus the Federation. Yep, that's what we're doing now. No big deal, right? Right?
Keep your nerves on you. Monarch seems to be playing out just fine. Ain't that right, Lead?
Well, Monarch's Monarch, and that's besides the point. We're home. Been about a decade, but we're back. Fighting the goddamn New World Order.
Good job, Hitman Team. General Elizabeth reports your tactical support pretty much saved his men and a respectable amount of firepower for the Independence Force. Combined with deployments by the rest of Sicario and other mercenaries, we've been brought back from the brink and have stabilized our territory. Being able to maintain proper military formation and territory means we'll be able to wage this war the right way. Stand by for further taskings and get some rest.